Close your eyes and envision a carnivorous dinosaur. You're probably picturing big teeth, tiny arms, and a massive head, right? Now, imagine a whole family of giant predators that look less like your typical dinosaur and more like a cross between a giant crocodile, a grizzly bear, a heron, and a unicorn. Sounds like an Egyptian hieroglyph or a child's imagination let loose with crayon, doesn't it? Well, it's not. Welcome to the world of the Spinosaurids. Unlike other big carnivores that hunted plant-eating dinosaurs on dry land, the Spinosaurids had special superpowers, adapting them to life near water. They had long, narrow snouts, teeth shaped like cones instead of steak knives for gripping slippery fish, and huge claws on their hands. They were the ultimate river hunter for the Cretaceous period. Our story starts over a century ago in 1912. A German scientist named Ernest Stromer and his fossil hunting colleague Richard Markgraf went on an epic expedition into the scorching sands of Egypt's Bahariya oasis. It was a brutal trip, but their hard work paid off when they uncovered a partial skeleton of a creature unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Stromer named it Spinosaurus aegyptigus, which means Egyptian spined lizard. Because the skeleton was incomplete, Stromer only had a few specific puzzle pieces to figure out what this animal looked like. Here is what he found in 1912. The lower jaw, conical teeth, a piece of the upper jaw, the tall back spines, a few other vertebrae, and some ribs. Notice anything missing? There was no leg bones and no arm bones in this discovery. Stromer had to guess how it walked. Stromer carefully packed up the fragile pieces, shipped them back to Germany, and proudly displayed them at the museum in Munich. But tragedy struck during World War II in April of 1944. A massive Allied bombing raid hit Munich and the museum caught fire. Tragically, the original bones of Spinosaurus were destroyed. It was a devastating blow to the paleontology community at large. All scientists had left to study were Stromer's detailed notebook descriptions, black and white photographs, and a few hand-drawn sketches. Spinosaurus had essentially become extinct for a second time. For over 80 years, scientists didn't know if Spinosaurus was just a one-of-a-kind anomaly. But then, the world of paleontology exploded with new clues. In 1983, a fossil hunter named William Walker made a huge discovery in a clay pit in England. He found a specimen which would go on to be named Baryonyx, which means heavy claw. When scientists looked inside the fossilized stomach, guess what they found? Fish scales. This was the ultimate piece of evidence that proved that this species of dinosaur was a piscivore. After Baryonyx, paleontologists started finding more and more relatives all over the globe. Which brings us to our next star, the one with the most unusual name in dinosaur history, the Irritator. Let's focus on one specific relative that has one of the most irritating backstories in dinosaur history, the Irritator. This creature lived in Brazil millions of years ago, but its modern journey began in the 1990s when a fossilized skull was discovered. Unfortunately, it wasn't found by scientists. It was dug up by illegal fossil poachers. To make the skull look more complete, impressive, and expensive to buyers, the poachers got creative in the worst possible way. They used car body filler, plaster, and superglue to fabricate a completely fake, extra-long snout. When paleontologists finally acquired the fossil and brought it into the university lab, they realized that they had a massive mess on their hands. They had to spend an agonizing, frustrating, and quite irritating number of hours using delicate tools to carefully chip away the fake car plaster and glue without breaking the actual bone underneath. The team was so incredibly annoyed by this tedious, painstaking process that when it came time to officially name the new dinosaur, they decided to let the world know exactly how they felt. They officially named it Irritator. Despite the rocky start, finding this skull was a huge win. Once the fake parts were gone, scientists discovered a beautiful real skull that proved Spinosaurids had spread all the way to South America, ruling ancient rivers across multiple continents. Speaking of which, let's talk about some major scientific drama that completely shook the dinosaur world recently. As a quick side note, Suchomimus has always been one of my favorite dinosaurs. Ever since I first saw it depicted by paleo artist Louis V. Ray in Howard Zimmerman's 2000 book, Dinosaurs, the Biggest, Baddest, Strongest, and Fastest. So, this next piece of information had me biting my nails a little bit. In 2026, a paleontologist named Frédéric Pittet published an incredible study using high-tech CT scans to look inside the snouts of Spinosaurids. He discovered that their noses were packed with sensitive nerves to feel vibrations in the water. Super cool, right? But buried inside that same paper was a complete taxonomic bombshell. The study argued that the snout of Suchomimus was a perfect match for a much less well-known, highly fragmented dinosaur discovered in the same area named Cristatosaurus. Why does this matter? Well, in the rules of science, whoever names a species first gets priority to that name. Cristatosaurus was named in 1998, just 2 months before Suchomimus. This means if they are the exact same animal, the beloved name Suchomimus technically becomes invalid. Dinosaur fans on the internet panic, but don't worry. The dinosaur itself is 100% real. It's just a debate over the label. Many paleontologists argue that Cristatosaurus was named using just a few broken bone scraps, making it a dubious name, while Suchomimus is so complete. Because Suchomimus is so famous in science and pop culture, scientists might officially petition to save its name to avoid confusing everyone. And the drama doesn't stop there. For over 100 years, Spinosaurus aegypticus was the only species of Spinosaurus we knew of. But in February 2026, a team led by famous paleontologist Paul Sereno made a mind-blowing announcement. Deep in the remote Sahara Desert of Niger, they found a brand new second species, Spinosaurus mirabilis. Mirabilis meaning astonishing, and it earned that name because it had a massive pointed crest on its head. In real life, this crest was likely covered in a bright keratin sheath, just like modern cassowaries or guinea fowl, using it to show off to mates. Because Spinosaurus mirabilis had longer legs than its cousin, Paul Sereno nicknamed it the hell heron. He argued it didn't swim out in deep water like the crocodiles do, but instead waded in about 3 foot deep of water, dipping its snout down into the water to snare 9-foot-long fish. This discovery breathed massive new fire into the great Spinosaurus War. On one side, some scientists still point to the dense bones of Spinosaurus aegypticus and its paddle-like, eel-shaped tail found in 2020, claiming it was an underwater swimming monster. On the other side, the discovery of the wading hell heron proves that some members of this family were much happier keeping their feet firmly planted in the river mud. Now, you might be wondering, if Stromer's original Spinosaurus bones were destroyed, and we have only found scattered pieces since, how do we have any idea what a full Spinosaurus looked like? Here is a big secret about paleontology. Almost every single Spinosaurus skeleton ever found is incredibly fragmentary. We have never found one single perfect complete Spinosaurus skeleton from head to toe. Instead, scientists must act like detectives solving a global mystery. To build a complete picture of the Spinosaurus, paleontologists must look at its dinosaur cousins all across the globe. They take the relatively complete skeleton of the Suchomimus from Africa to figure out the body proportions. They look at the well-preserved arms of Baryonyx from England to understand how the giant hand claws worked. By comparing these closely related cousins, scientists can fill in the missing blanks of Spinosaurus. It is a giant team effort across millions of years and multiple continents to bring this river monster back to life. The Spinosauridea family teaches us that nature is full of wild, wonderful experiments. They weren't just standard meat eaters. They were specialized, sailed-backed, claw-wielding fish catchers that conquered the rivers of the ancient world. Every time we find a new bone or scrape away some annoying 1990s car filler, the picture gets a little clearer. Who knows, maybe the next big Spinosaur discovery will be made by you. Well, old Mary Todd's calling, so I guess it must be time for bed. Until next time, keep on digging, Time Detectives.